Okay guys, rain, sleet, or snow, I am back with another crypto video. I want to get started here with a post. It's a blog post from Coinbase. And the blog post reads, Coinbase does not list securities. End of story. I'm going to read through this article and then just call out the obvious reason why this is just hypocritical. And again, I don't trust them. But the article reads, we have said it before, but given today's events, it bears repeating. Earlier today, following the Department of Justice investigation into a former Coinbase employee's misuse of confidential Coinbase information related to listing decisions, the SEC separately filed securities fraud charges against this individual related to this wrongdoing. The SEC alleges that 9 digital assets involved are securities. The DOJ reviewed the same facts and chose not to file security fraud charges against those involved. As CFTC Commissioner Caroline Pham stated, this is a striking example of regulation by enforcement by the SEC. We agree with Commissioner Pham and respectfully 100% disagree with the SEC's decision to file these security fraud charges and the substance of the charges themselves. Let me explain why. 7 of the 9 assets included in the SEC's charges are listed on Coinbase platform. None of these assets are securities. Coinbase has a rigorous process to analyze and review each digital asset before making it available on our exchange. That's a lie. I would get back to that. A process that the SEC itself has reviewed. This process includes an analysis of whether the asset could be considered to be a security and also considers regulatory compliance and information security aspects of the asset. To be explicit, the majority of the assets that we review are not ultimately listed on Coinbase. We cooperated with the SEC's investigation into the wrongdoing charged by the DOJ today. But instead of having a dialogue with us about the 7 assets on our platform, the SEC jumped directly to litigation. The SEC's charges put a spotlight on an important problem. The US doesn't have a clear or workable regulatory framework for digital asset securities, and instead of crafting tailored rules in an inclusive and transparent way, the SEC is relying on these type of one-off enforcement actions to try to bring all digital assets into its jurisdiction, even those assets that are not securities. Just this morning, and with no prior knowledge of the timing of the charge discussed, Coinbase filed a petition for rulemaking with the SEC calling for actual rulemaking so the crypto securities market has a chance to develop. We worry that today's charges suggest that the SEC has little interest in this most fundamental role of regulators. But in the absence of a concrete digital asset securities framework from the SEC, we remain confident that Coinbase's rigorous review process keeps securities off of Coinbase's platform. We remain eager to share our perspective with the SEC, especially through a formal rulemaking process that's desperately needed. Look, I don't feel bad for Coinbase for multiple reasons. But again, the main reason when it comes to this specifically, I don't feel bad for them, is as soon as Ripple got sued, they immediately delisted XRP. And this is why people like me do believe that there was a coordinated attack. Like, it's just like people like Alex Cobb and a bunch of other people have pointed out. People like us do believe that there was a coordinated attack on this community. Because at the end of the day, as soon as those files were charged, they immediately delisted the coin and didn't ask any questions. Even though, if I'm not mistaken, a few years back, just like how they mentioned in this article that they would reach out to the SEC sometimes and let the SEC know about their process of picking coins or whatever, or which coins they're looking into. If I'm not mistaken, I could have sworn a few years back, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I could have sworn a few years back they reached out to the SEC pertaining to XRP and the SEC was cool with them listing it. But then, as soon as they filed the lawsuit, you turn right around and completely sabotage XRP holders. And again, it goes to the point many of us have been making, which is a lot of these companies, a lot of these Bitcoin maximalists, a lot of these people who are anti-Ripple, a lot of these people who behind the scenes have some sort of incentive to go against Ripple. When the lawsuit was filed in December 2020, in late 2020, everybody turned their backs on us. But now they're desperately realizing, oh my gosh, we need them to win. But you didn't care about us. And now look, something that all of us said was going to happen is happening. Where they didn't plan on just stopping at Ripple. They're trying to do, just like in the court hearing, just like the congressman pointed out in the court hearing, they're trying to do a industry sweep. But it's whatever. Next story I want to get into here, it's a post from Brad Kimes. It's clearly him like doing like a paid ad. He has like a partnership. Several XRP YouTubers have a partnership with this new up and coming company called Glint Pay. I'm not involved in Glint Pay. I don't get paid for mentioning them. But the idea of it is still kind of interesting. Like a gold backed credit card, debit card, like that to me is a little interesting. Hopefully this company's on the up and up. Like if they're not, then I'm gonna just come right back on and do another video saying that it turns out they're frauds. But I actually want to play this video real quick just to get it on some people's radar in case it's not on their radar.
Now with Jason Cousins from Glint Pay. Jason, how are you?
I'm great, Brad. I'm just, I think I'm bouncing off your energy. You've got great energy.
Well, thank you so much. Well, it's in no small part to what you guys are doing at Glint. Tell people what you do at Glint and what you've done.
Well, Brad, it's a personal journey of mine, learning about inflation and how it's mainly created by the Fed. They came off the gold standard in 1971. So how do we protect against that? And how do you protect against systemic risk within the system? We obviously saw that in 2008. That was my awakening moment. So what we've done is enabled gold, which is the most reliable store of value mankind's ever had in civilized society. We've enabled physical gold that's allocated to you to be used as money in electronic payments.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. You know, there's a lot packed in what you just said. First of all, you turn God's money gold into something we can move like paper money, but it's not paper money that you own. It's physically allocated gold, right?
That's right. And, you know, one of the things that we wanted to do was to give it immediate utility. So if we look at Glint, the eventual goal is to build a financial services ecosystem. Well, let's call it GoldFi, a global financial services system, payment system based on gold. So our peer-to-peer system, which is not available in the US, but it is everywhere else, allows you to send gold from one mobile phone to another or one app from another, as easy as sending a text. We wanted to give it immediate utility, though. So we partnered with MasterCard. We did a lot of heavy lifting. We built this payments and trading platform that integrates with the MasterCard payment system so that you can have immediate utility. You can literally, and I'm sure you do and I do, go into a coffee store anywhere in the world and buy a coffee, pay for your flights, your hotels with the Glint MasterCard. And that's actually a philosophy we're taking on further. You know, where can we give our customers great utility? And of course, the next thing to do is not just have that bridge to MasterCard and that bridge to the incumbent financial system, but also create a bridge, a crypto bridge, the cryptocurrency ecosystem as well. So we'll be enabling you later to be able to buy gold with cryptocurrency and be able to sell your gold into cryptocurrency as well. So then we'll have both ecosystems completely covered. We'll have the gold bridge to the incumbent financial system and the gold bridge to the cryptocurrency system.
Well, that sounds exciting because you have already done it with gold and now you're building the bridge to crypto, and I know my audience is going to go nuts hearing that. And by the way, as a side note before we go, I just happen to know of a company and a token that could probably help out with that too.
Because again, when it comes to mainstream media, again, it's really funny how so much of the mainstream media completely ignores certain stories that actually would be important for people to know. But when it comes to putting out propaganda, they can't wait for an opportunity to do that. So I want to actually play this clip with the gentleman who interviewed John Deaton.
Law founder John Deaton. John, I got to start with the news. Apparently, an ex-Coinbase product manager has been charged with what they're saying is the first of its kind crypto insider trading case. What's this all about?
Well, you called it right, Charles. Thank you for having me on. The former product manager of Coinbase basically was on what's called the asset listing team. And that's basically, they get to pick which crypto assets are going to be listed on Coinbase. Now, most importantly, he had information of when the public announcement of that listing would be made. And there's this phenomenon, Charles, called the Coinbase pump. Basically, as you can imagine, when a new coin gets listed on the largest exchange in the United States, there's a pump. And he was providing this information and tipping his brother and his friend as to when these announcements were going to be made, and they engaged in that trading.
Any chance you could use the Nancy Pelosi defense?
Well, when Congress exempts themselves from insider trading, I mean, that's a pretty powerful exemption.
Yeah. Hey, I want to stick with this Wild West theme because Congressman Tom Emmer said this week that the SEC is still actively pursuing cryptocurrency entities, and doing so, they're going beyond their authority, right? He says that Gary Gensler and the director of enforcement sent a sweep letter or sweep letters to jam them into a violation that is presumably prohibited. I mean, what is the deal with the SEC in this urge to just dominate this space?
Well, I got to tell you, I believe Congressman Emmer is on to something. He wouldn't have just made that up. When you couple what he was saying with the fact that Gary Gensler has doubled the enforcement division for crypto-related assets, it makes sense. But what they're doing, apparently, Charles, is they send these voluntary industry sweep letters, which is voluntary, to ask for information. And what Congressman Emmer brought out was that the SEC engages in what's called extra-jurisdictional requests. They don't have any business sending voluntary requests to these companies, and they're voluntary. If I'm on the attorney for one of these companies, I say don't cooperate because they don't have jurisdiction, and they're not supposed to hold it against you, but they do.
Yeah.
And the direct enforcement said something dangerous. He said, quote, "We are not limited to our jurisdiction when it comes to subpoenas."
The bottom line is it sounds like pure intimidation, plain and simple. Let me ask you about your legal battle on behalf of holders of XRP. How's that going?
Well, talk about the Wild Wild West, Charles. I can't talk about the underlying issues, but the SEC has asked the judge to throw me off the case and to revoke amicus status to my clients. They're doing that on the eve of summary judgment motions being filed next month, which is the most important part of the case, as you can imagine. So that's where we're at now.
Last time we spoke, you had like 68,000 in this class action suit. What's the number now?
68,875. Actually 885, and it grows each day, Charles. It's the first time in history that almost 70,000 retail holders of an asset from over 90 countries around the world have come together to fight this government overreach.
John, I got to let you go, but in general, crypto's had a rough patch here recently, but so has every asset out there. I actually have been more impressed with Bitcoin and some of these others now, coming through this, than I was even before this. I mean, is this something we can take positives, we can take away from the way things have been handled?
Absolutely, Charles. It's called growing pains, as you know, but think about Celsius, BlockFi, 3AC, Vald, CoinFlex, all these companies going bankrupt on these high leveraged, strategies they're engaging in. And there were a lot of predictions that Bitcoin would go sub 10,000. It hasn't, doesn't mean it won't, but it's holding up pretty well. I think it's, in the long term, it's great news for the asset class.
I got to tell you, John, good luck to you. I'm not sure what's this all about, trying to kick you off the case. Maybe you should be flattered by it, but a lot of folks look up to you. You've been a warrior, and I hope you can come through for them, because you've done an amazing job from what I can see. Thank you very much.
In connection with the SEC's objection to Judge Netburn's ruling on the Hinman speech documents, The SEC's motion to file a 30-page opening brief was denied, limited to 20 pages, but its request to file a 10-page reply brief was granted. And Ashley's response was annoying but smart of Judge Torres to allow the reply. Now the SEC can't say they didn't get a chance to reply as a part of the reason for appealing to the Second Circuit. And I agree. I think a lot, again, I'm not like a legal expert, but I do agree that I think the judge is like, the judges tied to this are strategic enough to know that they want, even though it's frustrating for us as investors to wait for this to play out, they're probably not interested in letting the SEC appeal when it's all said and done. Obviously, I think Ripple's going to win. And I think once they win, regardless of the SEC trying to file for an appeal, they're just going to point all of this out and say, listen, we've let you, go. We went through this long process and have been patient, and we gave you your chance and it failed. Last story I want to get into here is a story from the Daily Huddle, and it reads, billionaire Chamath P. issues a global economic warning, says demand side recession incoming. The article states, billionaire venture capitalist Chamath P. is warning that the global economy appears on track to witness 2 phases of recession. In a recent interview on the All In podcast, I'm just going to call him P because I can't pronounce his last name. P says the world is currently experiencing the supply side recession, which he notes is the first part of the process. Quote, we have been in a supply side recession. That is what has caused inflation. We have to go through the process of taking all the excess money that's put in and out. And when you do that, we will destroy demand, and then that'll trigger a demand side recession, and we will destroy asset values. I think we're firmly in the first phase, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the reason why I think we're in the first part of this process is because people, broadly speaking, still have a lot of savings because of all the stimulus checks. There is still a lot of money, unquote. Chamath says that there are a few indicators suggesting when those savings have been depleted and the global economy is about to enter the second phase of recession. Quote, when people are motivated to re-enter the workforce, that's kind of funny. When people are motivated to re-enter the workforce, I think that's the signal. When credit delinquencies really start to spike, that's another signal. Because people then tapped out of their savings, then they tap their credit cards, and then all of a sudden they become delinquent. When all of those things happen, you're probably now at a point where that first phase of the supply side issues is largely done, and now you get to the demand destruction. But all of those roads, unfortunately, lead to the same conclusion, which is equities get really under pressure. So I thought that was an interesting point of view of how a recession could play out, because normally, at least for me, when you think about a recession, you just think about destruction. You don't really think about how, like, the phases of that destruction. So again, let me know what your thoughts are on all this in the comment section below.